Hi guys, I'm back for another comparative tarot video. This is comparative tarot number 3. It's a video response to Gypsy Chique. Excuse me, I did find out that that's how she says it. And she's doing a series that about the major arcana and the symbolism therein, and the information that she's getting is based on 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. I was going to say I don't have the book right here to show you, but I'm lying to you. 78 Degrees of Wisdom. This is not one of my favorite tarot books because the symbolism gets very esoteric and very sort of ethereal, and that's just not really my specialty. I am more practical than that, and I usually like a down and dirty meaning of a card. I want to know what it means, and I want to move past it. But it is interesting, and it's certainly worth picking up for research, or it's worth reading. And if you're really into symbolism and you're really into the deeper meanings of symbolism, then it's certainly worth it. And mine has obviously been, well loved and well read. But I'm not going through each major arcana in order to do the same thing, obviously, that Gypsy Chique is doing, because that would obviously be a ripoff, and you wouldn't be getting the same thing. But what I'm doing is sort of a response to her videos. And the last one she did, I went and checked her channel, is the Empress. I'm going to go ahead and move on. But what I'm doing is more of a comparative tarot, because what I found with her video and then other people that did video responses to her was that comparing the different tarot decks was really, really useful to me, not only in seeing the different symbolism of different decks, but in just looking at different decks and deciding if that's something, that I then want to pick up. Sorry, I'm trying to grow the hair out. What I have right now is sort of the in-between bush. So anyway, try to ignore that. Try to ignore the Willy Wonka look there, and I'll move on to the decks. So what we have is the next 4 cards in order. So we have the Emperor, the Heirophant, the Lovers, and the Chariot. Okay? This is the Universal Rider-Waite. So we're going to start with, actually we're not going to start with that. We're actually going to put them in order. So my bad. We're going to start with the Emperor. I don't know how that happened so easily. So in the Rider-Waite deck, you have a very classic Emperor. He's facing forward, although in a lot of Emperor cards he's facing toward the side. And Rachel Pollack talks about what that symbolizes. I don't remember all of that, but I'll let Gypsy Chique do that because she's doing a hell of a lot better job than I could do. So he's got the Ankh in his hand as a symbolism of what is that, life or everlasting life, what have you. The ram's head's on his throne here and at the top. Obviously, he's a person of power. In the background is almost like the mountains of Mordor, right? And it's really dark looking and fiery, and then the river that runs through the Empress card has turned into this little stream in the back of the Emperor, and he's wearing his armor. Okay. So then we have the Heirophant, and I struggle with this card a lot because I really don't like this card, and I don't like the Tower for different reasons, but this one is my zodiac sign card, the Heirophant. The Chariot is actually my birth card. But I've never liked this, and when I first left Christianity and started getting involved in more, I hesitate to say occult, but pagan practices, this really bothered me, and I still don't care for it, but in most of the decks, most of the cards, unless you pick a specifically pagan deck or nature spiritualism deck, you're going to get most of the cards are going to get a very Christian card reminiscent of the Pope, right? And we see that and reflected in the High Priestess as well, as we get very Christian symbolism. So we have what looks like a Pope. We have the same 2 pillars that we have in the High Priestess, and that's echoed here with these acolytes under here. And you can see here that this one has the red roses of the Magician, right? And these are the white lilies. We have the keys. And some cards, they're gold and silver, representing, obviously, the sun and the moon, more inner energies, more outer energies. This one, they're both gold. But he's a very Pope-like figure. And that's not my favorite. He's got the same kind of triple staff or whatever. Doesn't the Pope carry one similar? I don't remember all the symbolism, guys. My bad. I am a student of the tarot. I'm not a spectacular student of the tarot. And I don't read for other people, so don't panic. I'm not telling people all kinds of crazy stuff. The Lovers. This is the angel, obviously an angel. This is, instead of sort of banishing them from the garden, this is angel. It's kind of a Garden of Eden type concept. Behind Eve is the tree of knowledge with the serpent included in the tree. Behind Adam is the tree of life. And it's got the flames that are in the same shape as the Hebrew letter. We'll see that in the Ace of, I want to say, Wands. We'll see that same shape. There are several other cards that we'll see that same shape in. If you're a student of the Kabbalah, you're going to know what I'm talking about, because obviously I don't. But anyway, and we see that in this one, we were sort of pretty careful to, not do any overt male nudity. So this is another one that's very Christian symbolism. This is not, Rider-Waite is not one of my favorite decks. I don't prefer the Christian symbolism in decks. And I actually think I'm going to pick up the, Wildwood Tarot, because I'm really intrigued by that deck and the nature symbolism involved therein. And finally we have the Chariot. This is my birth card, so I'm always interested in the Chariot card. It's interesting. We have right here, this is a symbol of the Lingam and Yoni. Yes, that symbol. The opposites here that are sort of pulling in different directions, but despite this, he's obviously got the Chariot under control. He has the same wand that is reminiscent of the Magician and the World. And I know that the stars on the canopy here and this on his chest, I think it's like a breastplate like the priests from the Old Testament or the Torah, however you look at it. These things I know have symbolism. I don't remember them all, guys. But the best place to look for that, if you're really truly interested in the symbolism of every single detail in the Rider-Waite, is Rachel Pollack's 78 Degrees of Wisdom. Again, we have this yellow sky that I was talking about in my last videos that I don't like in the Rider-Waite, although it's toned down somewhat here. This is the Universal Rider-Waite, so it's recolored by Mary Hanson Roberts. And then outside the city, and you can see that it's not so much in this card action warrior card. In some other decks, it's really actiony. But this one we can see that it's obviously the Sphinxes are lying down. It's not so much an action card with this deck. Actually, speaking of Mary Hanson Roberts, let's do that one next. So this is the Emperor in the Mary Hanson Roberts deck. Again, we have the Ankh. We have a globe representing the earth, his power over his kingdom, and we'll see this in other decks as well. This one is not quite. We see the like a laurel wreath, more symbolic of Roman emperors. Later, this is not. And he does have some armor here, but it's not as medieval a feel. It's more of a sort of Roman emperor feel. The ram's heads on his throne. So you're really not missing much in this that you're not getting in the sometimes when they do a closer up shot, sometimes you miss some of the symbolism, but you're not missing in this. You just get more, I think, of a Romanesque feel out of this emperor as opposed to other ones. And I guess last time what I did is go through each one, huh? So let's do the emperor and then we'll come back. So my bad. So let's do the Emperor. So that was the Emperor. Then we'll come back to the Heirophant. So I'll dump the Emperors off here. And we'll come back around. So my bad. We did it differently last time. So here we have the Emperor in the Morgan Greer deck. This one is seated sideways, like I was telling you. And we don't have as much of an Ankh symbol, although, I don't know, it's just sort of different. We have the ram's heads. He is not in armor here. He's got the eagle that we see later in Roman times. We see again with the German Nazis, and I know there's an overt distinct symbolism there, and I don't know, I know we see it in different places. Here's the river that has kind of dried up. We get the real stern looking scenery in the back, mountains. We see a bird of prey echoed again here in his hat. And this one's a little bit of a different feeling. And I wish I could remember. Somebody's going to tell me I'm stupid and the symbolism is this, and please don't send me hate mail because I'm not completely up on my symbolism. One of the reasons that I really wanted to watch Gypsy Chique's videos before I did mine is because she covers a lot of that and points out a lot of things that I had not seen before. And I may end up doing an update. We'll see how it goes. But this is the Crystal Visions Tarot by Jennifer Galasso. This is the Emperor in this deck. And here we see the ram's head not reflected on his throne, but in his helmet. We see the Egyptian Ankh. We see the world here reflected here. And again, we see this very austere, serious background, you know, like they're hanging out just outside of Mordor. We get this very powerful figure, obviously, right? The Emperor is the chief dude of everything he surveys. He is the lord of his kingdom. And I'm sorry, this card has a little bit of a glare on it. And again, we see that kind of reflected in the Bird of Prey there. The next deck is the Robin Wood. And this one is more, this is an older man, and this Emperor, which I think is really befitting the station, right? We don't see here, we don't see armor. We see him facing forward. We see some ermine inside of his robe here. We see the Ankh here. I don't see the globe in the same, wait, no, he doesn't have one here, but he's not, oh, there it is, under his feet, look. Right there under his feet. Reminiscent of, there's another one sitting like that in a deck. It's the High Priestess in the Witch's Tarot, actually. We don't see the stream in the back of this one from the Empress card carried over to this one, but again we see a very austere, dry landscape. Probably this is the Bird of Prey here. Okay, that was the Robin Wood Tarot. The next one is the Paulina Tarot, and these are really interesting, I think, symbolically, because these are very, very different, pardon me, than traditional decks. We do see sort of a kind of an armory look here, armor-ish, not armory like where you keep weapons, but and there are critters reflected here. The tones are very dark and somber. We do see the staff sort of with the orb here, and this is, I think, that same kind of eagle image, or meant to be. Sort of wings on his hat. And this guy is also, you know, the chief dude of all. He surveys his domain, but just in a different manner. You still get the same feeling to the card. It's just a different sense. Okay, that was the Paulina Tarot. Next one will be the Joie de Vivre, also by the same artist, Paulina Cassidy. And we have a very different looking Emperor. We don't doubt that he's, you know, lord over what he observes, but it's a very different looking Emperor. We have the globe here, the world. We have the Ankh in the staff. We have the ram in his helmet. And again, very regal. We don't see armor in this card. But he also doesn't look as austere and miserable, right? This one is more like, oh, not only am I chief dude of all this, but I'm kind of happy about it. And I know I'm going to get emails this time telling me that I'm crazy and I don't know my tarot symbolism, but please don't be mean. Just take it for what it's worth. You can see the different cards in different decks. Joie de Vivre, Paulina Cassidy. The next one is, and obviously I'm saving my favorite deck for last, right? Can you tell by now? This is the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan. And this Emperor is seated sideways, and I find this card really incongruous because here he's in very, you know, medieval-looking armor, and then the kids are just in regular everyday clothes. And here the background is not as austere. We have some growth here. We don't see, it's not like he's sitting outside Mordor. It's like he's, you know, closer to the Shire, for lack of a better analogy, sort of. But he is in full armor. He does have the globe in his hand, the Ankh, the ram's heads on the throne. But here we have, and I don't know what the flowers are. Those are tulips, it looks like. So this is a very, a very different feel to this card. You know, it's a little brighter, I think a little happier. You know, there's children, so there's some joy. And obviously he's the parent figure, right? But, you know, there's some joy here with the blooming of the flowers, and you don't get the sense of impending doom like some of the others. Or the scenery doesn't give the sense of doom like some of the other Emperor cards. I don't think, in my point of view. And the last one is the Tarot Illuminati. We have the Emperor sitting sideways, but interestingly on this one, he's sitting sideways and he's sitting very comfortably. He's very relaxed. Despite the fact that he's in armor, this is an interesting pose. So not only is he the chief dude of all he surveys, he's very comfortable in that role, or I get the sense in this card. The stream from the Empress is not dwindled down to a little tiny trickle. We do get this, it's darker here, but I get the sense that it's more like either sunrise or sunset in this card rather than feeling like it's the fires of Mordor. And I don't mean to use that analogy. It's just that, you know, we laugh about stuff like that in our house and we're geeky like that. But anyway, he has the Ankh here, obviously his crown, the globe here, with a very sort of Christian symbolism on it as well. A little incongruous, perhaps, I don't know. On the ram's heads on his throne. So this one, I really like this one because it gives you that same feeling of the Emperor card, but you don't get, again, as with the Witch's Tarot, you don't get sort of that feeling of doom and gloom. You see some life growing down here that, yes, he may be the law, but he's not the absolute despot. You know, I don't know. Perhaps I'm mistaken. Anyway, so let's go back the other way. And we will do next the Heirophant. And this is one of my least favorite cards in the deck. And I talked about that a little bit with the Universal Rider-Waite. It's very Christian in symbolism. We have the acolytes, we have the roses on one robe and the lilies on the other, I believe. We have the keys here. They're both gold. But we have the lamb, and what does that symbolize? We all know, those of us who understand Christian symbolism understand what the lamb means, right? We have a very popish figure in this one. In all the regal, all the regalia. We have that symbolism with the fingers 2 up and 2 down is that sort of, it is symbolic of as above, so below. So that carries over from the magician somewhat. And this, and I know that there's a symbolism, maybe it's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I really don't know. And my apologies for that. Somebody can help me with that, please, without being unkind. But this is, I hesitate to say that there's any card that I don't like in Tarot Illuminati, but I'm not a fan of the Hierophant in almost every deck. I have to admit that this is a stunning card. I just was, you know, a little disappointed in the overt Christian symbolism of, but in many tarot decks you find that, so it's not unusual. Okay, we have next the Witch's Tarot, Ellen Dugan. We have a somewhat different Hierophant here. We still have this, and I wish I could tell you the meaning of that. I'll have to look it up and do a follow-up video. We have the as above, so below. We have the pillars that are carry over from the High Priestess. We have still waters back here in the back, and then we have the gold and silver keys in the front of this one, which is, as you can see, moon, sun, inner realms, outer realms. And this one we get more of a feeling of a sort of a teacher of inner knowledge, or a teacher of some sort, right, of the sort of establishment, more than we get a feeling of the church in the other cards, which is nice, I think. We have the Hierophant in the Joie de Vivre deck by Paulina Cassidy, my bad. We still have the as above, so below. We still have the staff. It's a little bit different there, but it still has the triple symbolism. And we have the addition of a book here, which is nice. So the mysteries that he's passing on are coming from wisdom. I think that's an owl, so you get a little hint of wisdom there as well, which is cool. And he's also not as austere here, and I like that. And obviously you would expect that, right, in the Joie de Vivre deck, I should think. But I like them when they're not quite as austere. This one is really cool. This is from the Paulina Tarot, Paulina Cassidy, and this is the Hierophant from that deck. And I love it that it's the tree, and they're all, like the little acolytes, there's a whole little group of them, and they're, as I recall, they're playing music. Yeah, they're playing music. So he's almost like the musical director. And you have the book here, might be the playbook, the music book. And you just have a sense of teaching knowledge that's, I don't know. This is a more joyful card, let me put it that way. I love this one. This is one of my favorites ever. And then we have the Robin Wood deck, and despite the fact that Robin Wood is sort of touted as a pagan deck, here he is again. The Pope, his acolytes with their tonsured heads, same kind of staff, the same pillars that we see, very church-looking pillars, the same pillars that we see in the High Priestess, his poor little acolytes. As above, so below. That's just ugly. That is like one of the ugliest Hierophants ever. I'm sorry. It just is. If you disagree, I'm sorry. I hate it. This is the Crystal Visions Tarot, and I think this is a little incongruous with the deck, but as with a lot of decks, they do the same kind of thing. It's still a very popish, but we get the different symbols of different religions here, which is sort of interesting. But you have all the same familiar symbolism. Nothing to see here, folks. No, I'm just kidding. Nothing different or novel, whatever. Morgan Greer, we get the same kind of feeling. Not quite as popish, I think, in this one, but, you know, similar. Same pillars, right? As above, so below. We get that staff with whatever the heck that means. Here we have the gold and silver keys. Okay. The Mary Hanson Roberts. We have acolytes down below that are even more sort of worshipful here. We have the keys. We have as above, so below. That same, whatever the holy hell. I'll get it figured out and tell you. Or somebody's going to let me know the pillars from the High Priestess. Okay, not as interestingly enough, being that this is a sort of a Rider-Waite-Smith, similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, not as, you don't get as religious a feel, which is nice, I think. And the Universal Rider-Waite, which I went over at the beginning. I won't belabor that here. That same traditional. Alright, let's go back the other way quickly. The Lovers, I already showed you this. Rider-Waite-Smith, the Angel, the Tree of Knowledge, the Tree of Life behind the man. Universal Rider-Waite. Mary Hanson Roberts. Lovers, different, but we still have the stupid computer. We still have the Angels up here. The Lovers down here. It's a little bit softer, a little bit sweeter card. You still see the trees in the background, and you can't really tell on this one. This one obviously has like fruit to it, so that could be the Tree of Knowledge, although it's behind him instead of her, which is interesting. And in this one, unlike this is another thing here in the Rider-Waite-Smith. The man is looking at the woman, and the woman is looking at the angel. So in the Mary Hanson Roberts, you don't see that reflected here, almost like they don't know the angel's there. We have that same symbol as above, so below, reflected here in the angel's hand gestures. The Morgan Greer, it's a really beautiful Lover's card, albeit very 70s. But you get more of the sense of it actually being a Lover's card between two people, being a union. I get that. I feel like that sense is more clear in this card. Okay. The Crystal Visions Tarot by Jennifer Galasso. You get that feeling here as well, because you really just have the Lovers, you have the doves there, which is a nice addition, but pink roses, butterfly. It's a really pretty card, and it's almost kind of stormy too. With the, in all of them, you see, you know, big fluffy clouds. This one's a little more stormy than some of the other ones. The Lovers in the Robin Wood Tarot. And I'm not going to warn you about nudity. You know, it is what it is, and I don't think it's anything to be alarmed about. You get some male nudity here, which is interesting. You don't see this in a lot of decks, and I find it refreshing because it. Anyway, so here you have the feeling of, you know, the male here holding the sun, the female holding the moon. So you have that sense of inner and outer. Up here you have fruit inside the tree, and instead of the angel, you have this sort of light shining from the tree or through the tree. This sort of halo around them here. The Paulina deck. And you have, this is really gorgeous. Can you see all the like critters and stuff that are going on around them? Oh, focus. This card is just, okay, this bird is bearing them. This little mouse or whatever he is sort of, it's a bunny, is sort of driving. The bird has correspondence in his mouth, almost like he's telling everybody. It's almost like a wedding invitation in a sense, and there is it's like an engagement. kind of, and they're bringing news of their engagement or their wedding. It's beautiful. It has a real sense of just celebration to it, I think. We have the lovers in the joie de vivre. Very different, but they're also still on an animal. And they're covered up, and you get the sense there's kind of snow on the ground. So different season of the year. The bird here also carries correspondence about their union, right? Or I'm guessing about their union. And they're wearing little bunny cloaks. The Witch's Tarot, again, is a very... Now, we still have the angel up here, although it's very different. The lovers are looking at each other. We really get the sense of a union here, and we get the sense of sort of a blessed union, correct? Or correct me if I'm wrong. I'm missing things. And then the Tarot Illuminati, we have the more traditional. Guy looks like Syndrome from The Incredibles, but the angel and the lovers, and they're sort of in these odd twisted positions, and I have not looked that up about why that is, but we have the tree of knowledge here and the tree of life behind the man. It's almost like a testing in a sense. We see the same kind of distorted image in the devil card in this deck, as I recall. Anyway, the angel's hilarious. I love his hair. Looks like Syndrome from... My son will think that's hilarious, because sometimes when I get up in the morning and my hair looks like that, he calls me Syndrome, so he'll think that's funny. Anyway. Alright, so we're down to the last one. Let's start again with the Universal Rider-Waite. This is the Chariot. We talked briefly about the symbolism that I know from the card. I don't know it all, but that sounded funny. I don't understand all the symbolism in the card. I talked about not understanding. I know the stars in the canopy and some of his stuff here. There are like zodiac symbols on his belt and his kilt. It's not a kilt, I know, but there's like a six-pointed star, I think, at his throat. I know there's other symbolism because I've read Rachel Pollack's book more than once. It just hasn't stuck with me, and my apologies. Anyway, so that was the Universal Rider-Waite. We'll go back the other way. This is the Tarot Illuminati. And here we get a very... This card is just so full of stuff, you guys. And it's beautiful. We get that same, like, kingdom in the background. We get some symbols on the canopy, but they're not quite the same. But we really get a sense of power and control and mastery from this guy. And in this chariot, we see two beautiful horses who are kind of, they're probably stallions. They're working it. He's got perfect and utter control over them, but they're not necessarily working in perfect harmony themselves. But, there's a lot of just symbols and things going on here. We have water down here that's a little churned by the horses. This card is just stunning. This deck is just so beautiful. And again with this deck, like I talked about before, the backgrounds are just as stunning as the foregrounds. You don't have hideous, horrible yellow skies. I absolutely love that deck. If you haven't bought it yet, if you're a collector, you're interested in tarot at all, go get it. It's just stunning. This is the Witch's Tarot, Ellen Dugan. We get that feeling here very clearly, although they're in the sky instead of on the ground, very clearly of him having control over sort of competing forces and bringing them under his control. But this is what I was talking about, is we get a real sense of movement and action with this Chariot. That's a beautiful card. That is the Witch's Tarot. If I didn't say it, my apologies. Joie de Vivre, Paulina Cassidy. Here we have seahorses, and we get more of a feeling of stillness, although the seahorses are facing different directions, but it doesn't look like it's disturbing him any. He's in control of everything that's going on here. And a very determined look on his face. We have the Paulina Tarot, also by Paulina Cassidy, Chariot. And they are horses, and this one looks like they're like Pegasus, like winged horses. They're going opposite directions as well, but he doesn't look too disturbed by that. He's under control. I got this. Right? Sort of a determined look on his face. Almost like he's not in control. Look at his face. I don't know. Almost like, I got it, I think. I don't know. Anyway, Robin Wood Tarot. Again, we have the same stars on the canopy. We have horses in this one that are, actually they're unicorns, looking different ways. For the balance of male and female instead of the lingam and yoni, here we have the yin and yang or yin and yang, however. Anyway, we have that. Here he's playing a harp, like this is, in celebration, and obviously he's under control. It's a victory. It's a celebration. It's all good. We're happy campers. You can see some of the background, although you can't tell in this. It's like he's stirring up dust. It's like almost like a Roman procession, and he's stirring up dust here in the back. You cannot see a city in this card, and there's no water underneath the horses there, the unicorns. This one is the Crystal Visions Tarot by Jennifer Galasso. This time it's a woman, and sometimes it is, which I think is fascinating. We get the city in the back. We again get those sort of dark storm clouds. These horses are sort of pulling away, but she's holding the reins with one hand, or not reins in that case, I don't think, but in any rate, everything's under control. And we get the sense sort of that this is more in the clouds as well, like the Witch's Tarot, right? And then we have the Morgan Greer. Horses are going 2 different directions. Now he has, firm control, but he's got both hands up there to work at controlling the beasts. We have the image of the sun here, moon on his shoulders, moon again reflected here. There are not symbols in the canopy. And here we have this really, I know why they did the orange background, I get it, but it's kind of stark, and we don't see anything in the background but him. And then finally we have the Mary Hanson Roberts Tarot, which is a much closer view. This guy reminds me of somebody from a movie. I can't place it. Again, she's used sphinxes here, but we have the yin and yang symbol. We get the city in the background. We have a very different type of armor and hat here. We get the moons on his shoulder caps. And here we have the canopy up across the top of the card. Obviously, that's part of the canopy, but it just looks different in this card. And here he's controlling these just by his hand alone, just by his energies. There's no reins, he's not holding anything there. I'm sorry if that blinked for you. I don't remember to hit the trackpad, and sometimes it goes to sleep. Anyway, so those are the next 5 cards. We had the Emperor, we had the Lovers, we had the Chariot, and Emperor, Lovers, Chariot, and Heirophant. No wonder I can't remember. Emperor, Heirophant, Lovers, and Chariot is the order they go in. So just another comparative. I'll try to keep doing these on my days off if it's remotely interesting for people. If it's, if it's not, if you just hate it. And here's a pet peeve, you guys. Don't be a jackass and hit the dislike button. If you don't like it, just go away. I hate it when people do that. Don't hit the dislike button on anybody's video. It takes time and effort, and, some people spend time editing their videos and put more effort into it than I do, but it still takes, half an hour out of someone's day to do this, to share something that they're interested in with you. And you're going to hit the dislike button? No, don't be a jerk. Just, if you don't like it, just go away and watch something else. There's plenty on YouTube to keep you occupied. Anyway, Rory's rant for today. Thank you for watching if you're still with me. Appreciate your time, and we will see you soon.